Hi, I'm Nathalie Kalbach, and I'm super excited that I'm here today with 3 special guests, my wonderful Australian friends, who I've met, most of them, not Rowan yet, but hopefully someday we meet in person. But they all have been part of Creative JumpStart, and I'm super excited that they will be back for Creative JumpStart 2021, which is our 10th anniversary. And so super special, super duper special people. And so because we're on different time zones, because it's actually like, I don't know, whatever time it is, it's like 6:30 in the evening in the US right now. And for you guys, it's early in the morning in Australia. So let's just ask you guys to say a little bit about yourself. I'm going to start with Jen. Hey, Jen.
Hey, Nat. Hey, girls. Thanks for having me back this year. I'm Jen Crossley from Australia, and I'm a mixed media artist, and I live in Victoria in a little town called Miners Rest. So I'm down the bottom of where these 2 other characters are above me.
And what's your main thing you do in mixed media? And then, like in a short.
Oh, I was going to say found object jewelry, but lately it's when I look back on everything, it's mainly resin.
Cool.
Yeah. Been doing a lot with resin. Yeah, so that's my main thing at the moment.
That sounds cool. Okay, let's go to Rachel.
Hey, everybody. I'm Rachel Greig. I'm live just north of Sydney, and I'm a photographer and mixed media artist and own a rubber stamp company called Darkroom Door. My artwork incorporates a lot of photography and imagery and rubber stamps because that's what I love using. So love doing printmaking and incorporating all of that together.
And they're fantastic. And I've been there and I've seen how you make them. It's a gorgeous place and awesome stems. So
I'm sitting in this space right now where you were. Your name's written on one of these tables. So
that's my mark. Hey, Rowan, how are you?
Hi, I'm well. I'm on holiday. I'm up at the Hunter Valley, not in my studio right at the moment, but we are driving back. So I'm Rowan from Little Rowan Redhead, Rowan Sivyer, and I'm a Kiwi born but Aussie residing painter and printmaker. So I always say that I suffer a little bit from arts and crafts ADHD because I don't like to reside in one place too long. But one place I've resided in a long time is printmaking, and that's probably how a lot of people out there in the Insta universe know me, mainly as a printmaker.
Yeah, you make amazing prints and wonderful carved stamps, and you're just like out of this world league.
Oh, shucks.
I mean, you 3 are all amazing, and that's why I'm always so happy to see your videos. It's always been fun. I cannot wait what's gonna go into the video this year. I know one already, that's Jen's, and it's super fabulous. She makes beautiful jewelry, and that's my hint. That's all I'm gonna say. So the
checks in the mail, Matt.
So the theme is storytelling this year, right? Was that hard for you to think of something or are thinking of something? Rowan is like, yeah.
No, I'm kind of working on something a little personal this year, and I think because of that, there's that reluctance to start. I will get it in on time, Nat. I will, I promise. But I think because I'm just mulling on it for quite a while and thinking about all the different ways that you can approach things, and everyone knows in multimedia there's so much you could do, right? So thinking about whether I will incorporate this, but because it's so deeply personal, there's that feeling of wanting to get it right. So you'll see.
How about you, Rachel?
Oh no, I'm okay. I'm good with the storytelling. Because I've done a lot of journaling and stuff throughout my whole life. So I still haven't sent in my video yet, and I'm just trying to figure out which story I'll be telling in my work. I don't want to give too much away because, we'll wait till January. But yeah, so yeah, I love using words and doing all that sort of stuff in my work, along with storytelling with photos as well. So That's what I enjoy doing. So yeah, I think it's a great theme. I was so excited when you sent that through, and I just love all the branding for this year and everything. It's just, yeah, it's perfect. It's like you did it for me. So thanks, Nat.
You're welcome, Rachel.
Yeah.
And Jen, you didn't have, I don't think you had any hesitation, because you make a lot of stories up also in your work, because you use a lot of found objects and old photographs, right?
Yeah, I was like Rachel when you sent through the email saying storytelling. I'm thinking, oh, thank God she's done that, because every year you sort of think, what's she going to come up with this year? No, it's easy for me because I use a lot of, well, I do. I love tintype photos. They're my favourite. So, you know, anything I do, it's always a story involved with it. So it was easy. Oh, I shouldn't say. Well, it was easy for me this year. Yeah. And I love, you know, as you're working on a piece, and especially when I've been doing a few books lately, it's sort of the photos progress and the words. So it all sort of flows together. So it's really quite, I love the theme. So thank you, Nat.
Cool.
Nat, can I interject and just say, I mean, I think on that, what we do, all of us anyway, I think that storytelling is so central that it wasn't actually until you said storytelling that I thought, oh, am I storytelling? And I think, well, yes, it's just that it's visual storytelling rather than, I mean, sometimes I use words, but you're expressing your emotions through the visual, telling a story and what you're doing. So I think that was the thing. It kind of threw me, but then, you know, it's still a very innate, natural thing that we do all the time.
Right. Yeah. But I get that it is a little bit tough when you decide of, like, when you're like consciously, you know, you're like, okay, what should be the tutorial about? Should it be my story? Should it be any story? Should it be a fantasy story? Should it be helping students how to tell their story, or, you know, or how to actually even tell a visual story? So there's so many ways on conveying something in the tutorial, and that's what I find so exciting when I get the videos, and because like how you guys work with the theme and what you were thinking in that moment. And then I always start to look for patterns, like what fits together in the way how artists are approaching the theme. And I don't know till the end, until I get all the videos in. And to be honest, I never do my video beforehand because I just don't have time. But that's the worst, because then it's like, this is out, this is out, this is out.
I know you're limited. Limited is good. Sometimes open-ended is scary.
Yeah, for sure.
That's true. So I wanted to ask you guys a couple questions. Let me start with Rowan. You have some really cool fabric block printing classes right now. They look so much fun. I would love to take one. How did you get into stamping fabric? I mean, I know you have always done like paper stamping. What did you like? How did that like all of a sudden was like, that's a thing, I'm gonna do that?
I think it's just a natural progression, really. I mean, if you're stamping on paper, then you start to naturally think about what else you could stamp on. And also it probably came also from I love Christmas, right? Christmas is the hand making mecca. And I was looking for, a couple of years ago actually, I was just looking for some more sustainable ways of doing gift wrap rather than my kids, you know, tear up all the paper and it just goes straight in the bin. So I started to make some Japanese wrapping cloths, and so the best way of decorating them was using my stamps. It's a wonderful thing to do, stamping on fabric, especially if you sew, if you quilt, if you do anything in textile art. It's such a lovely way of making your own unique fabric. The problem is I end up with so much fabric and not enough time or will to make enough things with them. So yeah, I've just thought recently, or maybe I need to do a little giveaway with some fabric. But look, block printing on fabric, it's something that it's a labor of love, because it's not a quick fix, and it's got its very own look as well. I often say to students, if you want something that's opaque and perfect, you don't do block printing on fabric. But if you want something that really has that feel of the handmade, you can see the maker's hand, then it's for you. It's great.
That sounds awesome. I'm all in for giveaway.
It's supposed to be random, Nat. Random.
I think the problem for me is always that I really love fabric stamping too, but I am the world worst sewer. Like, I mean, maybe it's not even that. Like for the whole year, I actually started sewing some masks because at some point, as everyone know, there weren't any. And I had a brand new sewing machine that I hadn't even unpacked in like 6 years. And it took me way longer to figure out the machine again because I was used to it than actually sewing those masks. It was pretty pathetic, to be honest.
So maybe we need to think about collaborations. You know, collaborate with someone who is an excellent sewer or does quilting or what have you, and then send them all your stamped.
There you
great.
go.
I've just had an idea.
Yeah.
For anyone who's watching this and is like, I would love to have some of the fabric, and I would in exchange. There you go. Hit us up. So, Jen, you make a lot of really, really, really cool handmade books. In fact, I have been to one of the workshops where you were here in the US, and you made these like really cool metal engraved books. You actually did one for Creative JumpStart.
Yeah,
it's on my fireplace. I have one of your books that you made for me on the fireplace, and you engraved the metal. What do you usually fill them with, and do you ever hesitate to work in those beautiful objects?
Very good question, Nat. Sit down, people. I never use them. I never use them. I just I love putting the found objects on them and creating them, and I love doing that bit. But to go to write in it for me is very daunting. I think I used to have a diary as a kid or a journal as a kid, and when I look back on those, I was a very depressed child, obviously. But I never use them. I know that sounds really bad. I like creating them, putting one-of-a-kind object on them, and then selling them. Well, some of them are very hard to let go of. One I had last year, I went to a fibre forum, and a lady wanted to sell it, wanted to buy it, and I explained every bit of where that came from, how old that is. It's really old, blah blah. And she said, you make people feel guilty for buying your stuff because you're so, and it was just like, I just want them to know how special the cover looks. And I said to her, what are you going to do with it? And she said, use it. And I go, you're going to use it? So, I'm sorry, that's me. I just don't use them. Yeah, I love looking at them, but I don't use them. So when you were going to ask that question, I'm like, you're going to be surprised by the answer. I know Rachel does beautiful journaling, but yeah, it's more the creating and putting that special piece on the front and the chemical and all that. And once it's out of my system, it's done. But yeah, some books I have sold and I'm like, oh, I really should have kept them, and I wouldn't have used them. So they've gone to a good home.
You will be happy to hear that I actually didn't use the one that you sent me because I'm afraid to put something in. So there you go. You put the guilt with it in the package.
I do. Actually, I should send one to Rach and see if she can, do something with it. Use one of your stamps.
Oh, absolutely. I'll make a good mess.
Here we go. So one person makes fabric. No, it's not using.
Don't use it.
But I think that's an important thing to point out, that because sometimes the process is what really is the journey, and that is the fun, right? So, I think Rachel might agree on it, even though it's like, I'm using it, but like it's the process that's I think for most of us are actually more than the outcome, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. Yeah,
absolutely.
So speaking of finishing stuff, Rachel, for you, a special question. Awesome picture of a stack of art journals that you're working in. You guys can find it on her Instagram feed.
You
Oh,
can.
but there she goes.
Sorry, I'm still here. I was just.
Oh my goodness.
I was just trying to see if I could grab a stack, but it'll be a bit hard to bring them over. But yes, I do have journals that are full and yeah, I used up the pages. But sorry, Nat. Yeah, continue on.
Those all? You keep those all, right?
Well, most. I do keep them now. But it doesn't mean I'm going to keep them forever. My first journals that I did as a teenager, they've been burned. So I can't say
destroying the evidence.
Destroying, yes, exactly. But that was. I just finished with those and wanted to move on. So I can't say 100% that I have all of my journals, but I do have them from probably the last 20, 25 years. I'd say I've kept everything since. So, and I'm not attached to them. I'm quite happy if they also get burned. So, but we'll see. For now, I've got enough bookshelf space to have them in, and and once I'm gone, who knows where they'll end up. So whatever. But yeah, I'd try not to be too precious with them. Otherwise, then I'm just handing on that to my kids or whoever, and they've already, well, I shouldn't say, but they've sort of said that, yeah, they may not keep them all. So I don't expect them to. There's just too many. And like you were saying before, it's the process. It's not necessarily like I don't get them out and go, oh, wow, that's just such great artwork.
That's what I was going to ask you, Rach. Yeah. It's
not about that. It's about, again, like what you guys are doing, it's more about I just need a little bit of time just to splash some ink around or just to stamp some things. And then at the end, I feel really good. It doesn't matter if it looks good because I don't need to show anybody. I don't need to, like, the ones that I think are okay, I'll put up on Instagram or whatever. And but there's a lot of pages that if you come here, I'll show you. But yeah, I don't need to show everything, and and I don't put that pressure on myself either, or I try not to.
It's that artist therapy.
Yeah.
Aspect, the cathartic. We're able to unleash ourselves in the pages and then move on with our lives. And so, I mean, I've certainly got paintings that I've worked on, and then people go, "Oh, that's lovely." I'm like, "Oh, is it?" I was in a phase at that stage, and I'm happy to leave that behind. I'll paint over those canvases, which people find horrifying, but
it's true though, because I've taken my journals to classes, and obviously in a journal, if there's a page you don't like, I mean, you can rip it out if you like, but I don't bother. And so those bad, I'm not particularly fond of, are there for people to see. And sometimes they'll stop at those ones and go, "Oh, this is so cool." And I'll be like, "Really? Out of all of them, you chose that one?" But obviously that's where the art, it strikes a chord with them. It didn't necessarily for me or whatever, it could be the colours I didn't like or whatever. But something resonated with them, and I find that fascinating. So, because all four of us could be looking at a piece of artwork, someone will pick something out that they like, and it'll all be different. So, I just think it's more about the process.
You said something very interesting, and I want to pick up on that and ask the other two as well. So you three all have children, I don't. And you said something that someone else said in one of the interviews, my dear friend Jimmy Leslie, who's part of Creative JumpStart as well. And he said he even told his children that they don't have to, they can burn his work.
That's
he doesn't care. It's if I pick something, he would never want to burden them with anything like that. And I'm like, who's going to take my stuff anyway? I mean, I don't care either.
Well,
do you feel
I'll drive you, Rach. Come on, Rowan, we'll pick you up.
Do you feel the same about that in regards, like thinking, I mean, that's a sad, I don't want to make this sad, but I'm thinking like, do you care about what happens to your stuff? Have you ever thought about it? Is there something you're like, they better keep that stuff?
I would. Oh, sorry.
No, go. You go, Jen.
So my mum died a lot of years ago now, but when she was quite creative in her time, and we've just sort of cleaned out the unit to, Dad's gone into a home. But when we went up there to look at stuff, it's really hard to, something personal of hers, I had to keep her artwork. Like, I don't know what I'm going to do with it. In that, and even it's funny, like her handwriting on a note, like things like that, I'm more sentimental, and that made me think about what's going to happen with my stuff. So, I don't, it doesn't really worry me if it goes to a good home. If the kids don't want it and they want to pass on to another artist, I think that's awesome, to inspire someone else to start creating.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's wonderful. We've got to pass it on because we're all getting older. Let's face it, I'm 60 next year. Oh, my God. You've got to encourage the young ones. That's the future. And if they don't, I often, go through my stash, not my good stuff, and give it to some of the neighbourhood kids, so they'll work with it, you know what I mean, and just gives them a little bit of inspiration. Because I don't know whether I should say they're all on their computers. I don't know how the others feel about that, but yeah, it doesn't really worry me when it goes. One or two pieces I'll just take with me, and that's all I'm saying. 6 feet under.
Yeah, look, I get asked all the time, your kids must be so creative and you must do so much art with them. No, yes. I don't let them in my studio. They don't let them touch my stuff. No, some things, yes. Other things, no, you're not allowed in there without me being present. Anyway, in terms of, legacy, my tools are more precious, I think, than my actual art. I mean, my kids probably say something different. I'm sure my husband and my kids be like, well, no, we would keep some things, but I would be the same. Like, no, keep the things that means the most to you. And maybe give the other stuff away or sell it if it's worth anything to anybody. I don't put myself up in any category of fame, but if they can, great. But in terms of the things that were precious to me, I would hope some value to them. So whether they keep that or give it to someone they feel would really love to use it. So, my press or my carving tools or my very favorite things that I cherish, then maybe they could. But yeah, I mean, look, in the end, it's all very temporary.
I think it is a part of it is like the stories that you connect with the things that you have from your parents, right? So with my grand aunt, for example, that I was a taker of, she was a big storyteller, and she had like everything. She had a story. And that was really hard when I was taking care of her stuff, to also get rid of it, because I was, seeing all those stories. But it made me appreciate some things that she appreciated more because of the story with it, more than I would have if I wouldn't have known the story, because I would be like, yeah, it's a salt and peppers paper shaker, who cares? But it was like, no, it's Max and Moritz, you gotta care about those two guys. So anyway,
sorry, Nat. I was going to say, my parents also very, very creative. My mum, who just doesn't even know who she is anymore. She's got Alzheimer's and she's in a high care facility. But she was a most amazing dresser. That was what everybody used to pull from, when they'd talk about my mum. They'd say she was so fashionable, always had the best clothes, used to hoard shoes, bring them out later and say to my dad, oh, no, I've had these forever. And she hadn't. So my poor dad just couldn't deal with the wardrobe. Every piece of clothing was just heartbreaking. So he saved it for me. And I am the only one in the family who could fit some of her things, although she's a skinny mini, so she's even smaller than me. So I just kind of took a whole lot of her clothes back to Australia the last time I was back home. And I bought some things for the kids too. And it might not mean as much to the kids, but for me, they're just so, every time I put on something of hers, it's just, it makes me feel really good.
It's like a hug.
And that was her story. That was,
Yeah, that's very important. I think like there are these like attachments to something that from someone you love, and then you wear it or you carry it around, right? So yeah, I think like those stories are very important, like the stories of our family, stories of our friends, stories of our people. That's how you I think that's how we connect and how we learn. It's our connective tissue, right? So that's how the world starts to work, So I wanted to thread all those interviews together, and I asked all of you and all the other people that I interviewed, if they could show us, or if they don't, we're gonna thread it into the. I already got 2 photos from you guys. I'm gonna overlay it into the video when you're on. If you can show us or tell us a little bit about an item that you love to have around that has a story when you're creating in your creative space. And I'm gonna start with Rachel.
Well, I've got two things really that I love to have around. I'll just be quick. So these, I don't know if you can see these here. These are really old atlases.
Oh, I love atlases.
Yeah, because number one, I love traveling. So I love the world, and I've always been fascinated with all of that stuff. And so I like to pick up atlases anytime I'm in op shops or thrift stores or whatever. So that's only a couple. There's I have them everywhere, all throughout the house, and then I don't need more, but I still buy more because I use them in a lot of my journal pages. Actually, since I've got this here, I don't know if I can quickly show you. Actually, there's one here. While I'm talking, I'll just flip through this just to see if I can find a page where I've used an atlas. But I use it a lot in my journal pages. I think I've got the wrong journal. Anyway, so that's one thing. But here's my other little item. Well, again, I like to collect them. So I have, and that goes back to the storyteller thing. I always like to, use typewriters to write with, and just for journal purposes, you put them in on tags because you can't exactly put your book through it. So on tags and pieces of paper, and incorporating that into my work as well. So they're 2 things that I like to have handy and that I use often. I mean, aside from the general things that everyone has, which is, your inks and your paints and whatnot. But they're 2 things, as well as my cameras and whatnot. But that's a different process to the mixed media process. So
I think this is really interesting because both of those things, some people, I don't, but some people would say they're obsolete nowadays because you have navigation systems, and you can just go online and look at the map and yada yada, or typewriter. You're like, well, there's computers, right?
Yes.
So it's actually really interesting. I mean, I love both of these things too. I love old atlases, old maps, and stuff like that too. And I have an old typewriter as well in my room. It's interesting that there is this kind of attachment to these things, that it's like
to the old things. Yeah. And I, like, my business name or my rubber stamp company is Darkroom Door, and I mean that's darkrooms. That's where it came from photography. Working, I mean, I've spent years and years and years in the darkroom producing photos. So
okay, kids,
you can kind of tell.
If you don't know what a darkroom is,
it's not a kinky
Google it. That's right. Oh, you never know, but it's but I like all that old retro sort of, old vintage, all that old world stuff, really. So the old typewriters, all the analog, I'll call it all analog stuff. So yeah, it did take a bit for me to go into digital photography, and I'm obviously well and truly into that now, but just loved, all that stuff that's, because it's just cool. All the atlases, typewriters, darkrooms, old cameras. Yeah, love all the old cameras.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
Very cool. So Jen, you sent me a picture. I don't think you can show it to me right now. So just tell me what it is for us. Here it is. What is it? Tell
I'm
us.
trying to behave myself at the moment. This music, got to have music in the studio. I don't know whether you girls, so it's just a speaker. I've got to have it cranked up really loud, and the more creative I get, the louder the music gets. It just makes you feel happy, and you're doing what you love, creating something, and then oh gosh, I got goosebumps, and then the music on. It's just, I've got to be happy in the studio, and the music gets you going, and that's what I love. Apart from all the vintage stuff, but I couldn't actually bring all that on. But I agree with Rach. Like, I can't go into an opportunity shop or a Goodwill shop without buying a dictionary. I love old dictionaries.
I'm with you there.
Yeah.
Yeah. And again, that storytelling. Sorry, Jen. I was going to say with the dictionaries, I often sometimes use them for inspiration, or flick through a dictionary and kind of look at a word that really speaks to me. Sometimes I'll use that. I'll print on dictionary page as well, and again, the print will be inspired by the word that's on the page. Yeah. Sorry, I have to. My family is just about to come back, so I thought I'd just quickly talk about. Quickly talk about my little thing in the studio, which is probably not as, it probably doesn't sound as meaningful, but for me, I got a new press this year, and for me, I was really excited about it. That was something I'd wanted to get for ages. I've used my spoon for years. I still think there's something to be said about, spoon burnishing a print, but there was something beautiful about ordering my own Lido press. Came from the Netherlands. It's my color. It's turquoise. I get so many comments about it, but it's for me, it was just a little feeling of personal satisfaction. Oh, can you hear the ding, 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 ding? That's my children arriving back. I'm going to have to go, Nat. I'm really sorry.
No, I understand. I know she's on vacation, guys. So
I know. Sorry,
I'm gonna say something about how to follow you and all the other ones later. See you.
Okay. Bye, everybody.
Bye, Rowan.
So it goes when you do calls around the world. Poor Rowan, she was like, "Oh my god."
Well, that just shows you, as an artist, you've got to be this. You've got to be a wife. You've got to be, mother. I've got nothing else.
Well, this whole pandemic and all the Zoom calls and whatever not have shown that we are all normal people that have lives, and I find it quite refreshing, even seeing news anchors, like seeing some stuff happening in the background, and I'm like, yeah, you're a normal person too. And usually you have like 50 people helping you to look good and make everything smooth. We don't have that.
No.
It kind of puts everyone on this even playing field now.
Right? That's what I'm thinking. No, poor Rachel froze.
I know. We call it resting bitch face in Australia.
Yeah. Hopefully it was a good one.
I'm gonna post for everyone where they can find you guys, but so I'm gonna post it for Rowan. Anyway, she's already said Little Red. I have to look it up, guys. Don't mind. I have not thought that she would be going away, but I'm gonna post that. Where can people find you, Rachel, online?
You can find me at rachelgreig.com, so rachelgreig.com, or darkroomdoor.com. You'll find me there. And then all the links to my socials are on both of those.
And where do they find you, Jen?
At the opening of a fridge, Rach. Sorry, Nat. No, sorry.
Yeah, with the chocolate, that's where you'll find me.
Oh, God. Instagram, Jen Crossley, I'm markingtime.com. My daughter's working on revamping the website, so hopefully that'll be up soon. But the same as Rach, Instagram, Facebook, opening of a fridge.
Big party, big music rave, Yeah.
So you guys, if you haven't signed up for Creative JumpStart yet, go and do it. Use wherever you see this video on any of their social media, these are affiliate links, which means when you see the posts on there, his Rowan is texting us. I'm like, well, what's flying into my feed? So when you see them posting that on their social media, use their link to sign up. That will give them a bigger piece of the pie. We artists and creatives can all use it right now very much. I'm super happy to have you guys back for Creative JumpStart, and thank you so much for doing this interview at a really untimely time for you guys in the morning.
That's fine, Nat. And thank you so much for inviting us back. It's so good to be back. Yeah, especially this year. So it's really good.
Yeah, thank you.
Someday I'm going to come back to Australia, guys. You won't get rid of me.
Oh, no, that's it. You're welcome anytime.
I will be back.
You have to update your signature on my table.
So. Yes. And then Jen has to come too, and Rowan has to come too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes. Yeah.
Although I know this is a big country, you guys are. How far apart are you guys?
Rowan and I are only like an hour and a half away.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, because Rowan's usually in Sydney, so I think.
Oh, okay.
I think she's in Sydney, and but Jen, yeah, I mean it's only a 1 hour, 1.5 hour plane, right? So
yeah, if you can get on a plane or allowed to go to Melbourne.
That's it. Yeah, the border's shut. So yeah, to drive down to Melbourne's, I think about 10 to 12 hours. So
I've done it.
Yeah, it's not that far.
You have with all the kangaroos. So.
With Julie Pfeiffer and Balzer.
Yes.
Yeah, I did it. I've seen what is it? The Dog of Gundagai or something?
Yeah, the Tucker Box. Dog on the Tucker Box.
Oh my God, like 100 million times. It's a cool story, but I do not want to see him again.
You know, he fell off his perch, but they put him back up now. So
you could have broke that a bit more gently to me, Rach. I didn't know he'd fallen off his perch.
Oh no, I think it was not intentional, but yeah, I think they've managed to fix it now, so he's back up.
Yay for him, and it was awesome to see you guys. Thank you so much for your time. Sign up for Creative JumpStart. Those Aussies are amazing. We love them, and thank you.
Thank you, Nat. We love you too.